Sharpening with any stone is like sharpening with a regular whetstone, so you need all the same supplies: a stone holder, your knife, and a bottle of water or some other lubricant for the stone, and of course, the Anystone Sharpener. Here I'm just going to go ahead and dull this knife so we actually have a good reason to sharpen it. I'm just going to run it across this stone. Never do this, but it's properly dull now, can't even cut paper. So first step is just going to be to clamp your blade in the Anystone. You pull out this little bit holder that's integrated into the body and insert it into that 1/4-20 clamping screw. You don't want to set your knife all the way against the screw because it could prevent you from sharpening at shallower angles. You want to clamp maybe 1/4 to 1/2 inch from the edge of the body of the sharpener and give it a good snug turn there. Make sure you have a lot of friction. Give it a little wiggle, make sure it's good. The next thing you want to do is just go ahead and set your angle. So you turn this little black nylon ball at the bottom, and you can see as you lengthen that screw it changes the angle, passing 15 degrees here up to 17.5, 20. Once you're at the angle you want, you go ahead and just twist that set knob. Then you flip it, do the same thing on the opposite side. And you want to make sure that you're holding your blade edge flat on the stone when you do this so that you're actually reflecting your sharpening angle, not the angle of something else contacting the stone. Alright, you go ahead and spray your stone down or do whatever you gotta do for your particular stone. This one's a diamond stone, so I just spray a little water on it. And you get sharpening. It's kind of just like a slicing motion into the stone. I like to hold it at like a bias angle like this, maybe 60 degrees or something to the stone. And the beauty of this sharpener is that as long as you have that black ball touching your work surface, it maintains the edge angle between your blade and this stone. You can mess it up, but it's pretty hard to. So, you know, as long as you're ensuring you're making flat, good contact with the edge on the stone, it'll hold it at the angle for you. This phase of sharpening is what I would call apexing the edge. So we're starting on the coarser side of the stone, and the point here is to basically grind down each side of the edge until they meet at one infinite little point in theory. They don't do that quite, and what actually happens is you grind metal away until you get this little tiny thin flake of metal that's running along your whole edge, and we call that a burr. I'm working on side A of the knife right now, and I'll work on this side until I feel like I've developed a burr. Then I'll take it off and dry it and check. And once I've done that, I'll flip to side B and I'll do the same thing. I'll grind away at side B until that burr forms and flips over onto side A. To check the burr, you dry the edge off, and you want to carefully run your thumb across perpendicular to the edge, never along it, or you could slice your finger open, but as long as you run perpendicular to it, you should be okay. And it will just sort of grab your skin, and if it's not grabbing your skin and making this high-pitched, faint, scratching sort of sound, you don't have a burr yet, and you need to keep sharpening on that side. So with the burr on side A, I'm flipping now to side B, and I'm going to do the same exact thing for an approximately equal amount of time. If you really want to make sure you're being symmetrical about it, you can time it, but I usually don't. Here again, I feel like I'm probably almost at the point where I've developed that burr and flipped it over, and checking, I have. So now that I've developed a burr on side A and then flipped it back to side B, I'm going to go ahead and swap this stone from the coarse side to the fine side, and we're basically going to do the same thing. I'm going to spray it with a little water, and I'm going to start on side A again now, since I was just working on side B. And now with the 1200 grit stone, I'm going to flip that burr back over. here again, I feel like I've probably worked that burr around. I'm going to go ahead and check. And I have. I also, at this stage, look for a consistent edge, just to make sure I haven't missed any spots. And they both looked good, so now I'm switching back to side B. And again, I'm going to flip that burr back over to side A, now on this 1200 grit stone. You hear two sounds when you're sharpening with the Anystone Sharpener. One is obviously the sound you normally hear on whetstone sharpening, which is the sort of wet, scratchy sound on the stone. And the second one is the sound of that nylon contact ball on your work surface, and that's what's maintaining your edge angle for you. So again, I feel like I've probably flipped the burr over and checking, I have. Now with the burr developed on both sides and flipped over back to side A, I'm going to go ahead and start what I call the 15 by 15 method. Do 15 stropping strokes. That's sort of slicing away from the stone instead of into it on each side of the blade. So I'll do 15 on side A, and then 15 on side B, and then I'll do 10 on side A, and 10 on side B, and then 5 on side A, and 5 on side B. And that's kind of the first set of 15, just counting down by 5s. The point of this here is to fatigue the burr off the edge. So we've, apexed the edge, we've, ground each side of the edge to each other, but there's this little bit of metal hanging on. So this phase is meant to slowly wear that off. So that was my 2 sets of 15. Now I'm gonna do 2 sets of 10, and then 2 sets of 5, and then once that's done, I'm gonna go back to 15 again, but this time 1 stroke per side. So it'll be side A, then side B, then side A, then side B, until we have 15 strokes on side A and 15 on side B. When you're doing this phase, you want to be pretty deliberate about the way you're putting the edge on the stone. It can feel like, since you're almost done sharpening, that you don't have to be so careful. And the Anystone, of course, does most of the work for you as far as maintaining that edge angle. But you want to make sure that when you're leading in, like right there when the tip just touches the stone, you're keeping the contact point of the edge flat to the stone, and you're not digging it into the edge, because you are almost done and your knife's getting sharper with every pass here by this point, but you can sort of undo your work if you dig the edge of the stone in. So you want to make sure you're not dipping it down or up too far when you go in. You want to make sure you're flat to the stone. It's got an even contact area. That's the end of the 15-15 set. You can see we're pretty sharp, cutting paper here. And that's sharp enough to do most things on a knife. Opening boxes, cutting your vegetables, whatever you want to do with your knife. You can really enhance this quickly with a strop, which isn't necessary, but if you want your knife really sharp, you can use an old belt, you can buy a strop. And especially if you can get some polishing compound on it, and you just do another 15 passes on this, always moving the blade away from the leather or you'll cut into it, and it'll really enhance the sharpness of your knife. Hopefully, after sharpening the knife with the Anystone, you have a little bit of muscle memory, so for how your your hands and arms have to be to help maintain this angle. So just kind of continue that motion. And you can see here, it is razor sharp. It's shaving easily. So that's it. Thank you so much for purchasing your Anystone Sharpener. I hope this video was helpful in learning how to use it, and I hope you enjoy your very sharp knives from here on out.